So we understand that students who attend our high school have a range of giftings, but we don't want them to shortchange themselves by opting out of those Dash 1 courses. So we know our students are highly challenged. We know we ask them to take a lot of diploma courses. We're very proud of our diploma results. We're proud of the work ethic of our students. We know we're achieving really, really well in that area. In addition to those courses, we do 3 AP courses. We've selected to do the 3 that tie most naturally to Alberta curriculum and also fit most naturally for what students are pursuing in university. So that's the English Literature course, the Math Calculus course, so it's called Calculus AB, not Alberta, but AB, and also the World History course, because they tie so beautifully with Alberta curriculum. AP courses, though, are not quite as simple as sometimes people think, in the sense of, if I take this, it just bumps a university prerequisite. That's not always the case. It can work for or against a student, depending on their experience with AP, how they score on the exam. So what you want to do if you're thinking about enrolling in an AP course, and really I'm speaking, this is an 11th or 12th grade decision, you want to have the conversation, how do I use this to my advantage? Okay, it's not just a black and white, I take this and it bumps a course out of my list. So, for example, if you were applying to U of C, they're going to want to see your grades well before your AP results have come in. And so you need those Alberta grades submitted to them. Chances are your admission decision is going to be long over with before you get your AP exam results. It's going to come out till July. And most offers for admission are made between March and June, even if you're on a wait list. The other possibility is they say, well, you know what, you got a 3 out of 5 on that exam, which is actually good, but if you translate that mark to a university transcript, you might not want that 3 out of 5 on your university transcript forever, and it stays there forever. It's not like a high school mark where you can upgrade it, change it. It will always stay on your track record. They might ask you for tuition, even though you took that course as an AP course in high school. So all that to say, it's a very complicated, it's not just a straightforward, okay, if I do this, this is the end result. But what we hear from our students, why we offer the AP, it challenges them, it gives them an opportunity to function at that university thinking level to get a little glimpse ahead into the future without already being in university. And so we believe in the value of them, but we want to use them very strategically with our students. In terms of what we offer for options, and lots of times as a smaller school, people have a perception that there aren't a lot of options. What we have done with our option program is we stick with our fine arts, so our music drama, very popular for us. We've included things like outdoor ed, coding, but in Alberta, a good portion of the options come under CTS. CTS is Career and Technology Studies. There are about 600 individual modules under that CTS program. We don't tell students, you must take these 5, and everybody takes the same 5 modules. Each student selects based on their interest, or maybe they don't even know they have an interest in something, so they try it to see how they do. The other part of that, under that CTS umbrella, are all the things like psychology, forensic science. What happens in high school, the options branch pretty significantly, but if you're like me and you went to high school in Alberta, we thought high school options were shop and home ec. And I'll date myself a little bit here, girls took home ec and boys took shop. And so really that's kind of gone away because the actual practicality of the types of jobs students are going to be getting are more in things like technology, marketing, business. And so this gives students a chance to try out different topics that they're interested in without all of us doing the same thing at the same time. We have CTS teachers who support them, who work with them, walk them through the material. It's extremely individualized. It covers even things like mentorship, volunteerism, animal sciences. There's just a myriad of things. If you're ever curious, if you just Google CTS, Program of Studies, and keep deep diving into those links, you'll see there's just a monstrous variety of options available. I would also just like to comment on our culture. So we really value our culture here. We value having a school that's about school. We value relationships between students and teachers. We value our safe culture. We don't want to have a school where there's things going on here that you wouldn't want your child exposed to. And so we're very, very protective of our culture. We love the fact that we have strong student-teacher relationships. If you are a student, you might kind of go, when you're 14, that may not sound like the most appealing thing, because there's going to be a lot of adults in your business, okay? As parents, you might want that, right? We're kind of the village that's on board with you to help raise your children, and the teenage years can be a little scary. There's some new scary things starting on October 17th that you're probably aware of. We want to be behind you and with you walking through that journey. If you want to take a look in your brochure, maybe I'll just draw your attention to this page and give you a second time. It's about 2 pages in. And if you just look on the left-hand panel, you can see some of our big rocks. So our school has a very unique flavor. I would call us really a niche high school. We have some big rocks that we camp on, that we would consider to be non-negotiable. Things like our Christian education. So we want to have integration of our Christian principles and our Christian faith. I'm sure you're all aware that we don't have a separate Bible class, but we do have chapels. We celebrate Christmas. That continues all the way right into high school. We have teachers who care deeply about their own spiritual faith. We want our students just to consider, to be exposed to truth, to consider truth, but we're not here to tell anybody what to believe, when to believe it, how to act that out. So we have a very open culture in that sense where ask your teachers to have questions. We don't mind. The other thing I would draw your attention to is the scholarships. We have a great success rate with scholarships with our graduates. We have several graduates who've gotten full ride scholarships to some pretty prestigious programs, but the one we really look at is what can everybody access. The scholarship in Alberta everybody can access is called the Alexander Rutherford Scholarship. We are consistently in every grad class 95% and higher kids who are achieving that standard where they can actually get that scholarship. That includes a student who maybe took Math 30-1 and it was a real tough fight for them. But they are able to achieve enough in those other areas, they're still qualifying for that scholarship. So we're very proud of that statistic from our school. I've mentioned some of the other things on here, but I'll just speak maybe to a little bit about post-secondary while I'm on the topic of scholarships. If you just turn one page over, one of the things we get asked a lot is, what do our alumni do? Where do they go? So we thought, if that's a question we keep getting asked, we should probably give you that answer. And so if you look at this list, and this is not an exhaustive list, what happened was we kind of ran out of room. So we couldn't list everything. We tried to show an assortment in terms of types of school and types of programming. We are very proud of our doctors and lawyers, but we're also very proud of our performing artists who have music careers. We're proud of all of those students who are working in their passions and are pursuing careers in their passions. So you'll see a little bit of that reflected in the types of schools we're showing you where our alumni have headed off to. One other thing, just while I'm still talking about university topic, we have engaged with Palliser, who is our overseeing school board, to offer our students as well dual credit programming choices. Dual credit means you take university programming simultaneously with high school. So the idea of the dual is you actually earn university credits and high school credits simultaneously. It's a challenging program to be involved in. We are looking at partnership with Mount Royal because they're so geographically close to us. That's a new partnership coming on board for next semester. We're currently in a program with SAIT. So we have a student taking pharmacy assistance at SAIT. When she graduates grade 12, she will be a certified legal pharmacy assistant. And she will not even have left high school at that point. They support that programming, and again, you have to be ready. It's a big challenge, but we want you to know that things that are available to your children that go beyond the scope of kind of what you might think of math, science, the kind of the basic courses. At this point, I'm going to pause because I know I've dumped a lot of already information. We have some grade 12s here who each have some talking points that they want to share with you. They're currently in grade 12, okay? They're going to come and they're just going to introduce themselves and just tell you a little bit about their personal experience at Masters, what it's been like for them to be here in high school, because you might as well hear from the people who are experiencing it every single day. So come on up, come be brave. I'm going to get you all to come up at the same time. Ethan, I'm going to have you stand here because I'm going to actually get you to start. And then Jordan will be next. And then Noah, Olivia, Regan, and Jordan. You can just speak and then pass the mic down. Okay? And I'm going to step out of your way. Let me step out of this.
Hello everybody, my name's Ethan, and I'm in the grade 12 class here. I'm an elite hockey player outside of school, and the choice to stay at Masters was pretty easy, especially when their program supports my extracurricular activities as well as it does. When I miss chunks of school at a time, going on road trips or tournaments, I get one-on-one help to get back to where I need to be. As well, I can use my extracurricular hockey to get phys ed credits, so I don't have to take gym classes on the side. I've been in your kids' shoes 3 years ago. I know how hard it is to make the decision, and the best thing to do is to focus on the key points of what the school has to offer instead of focusing on all the negative stigma other students may be bringing to their attention. Because in real life, there's absolutely no loss of respect if you attend this school outside. Once you carry on outside the school, you're not treated any differently than anybody else who attended one of the bigger schools like Western or Manning. I was voted in as captain of my team, and all my other teammates respect me, and they know which school I go to, and there's absolutely no need for this negative stigma that we have here at our school. As well, I'm very close with all my friends that left in grade 9. And they don't dislike me any less because of the school that I chose. Because when I was deciding which high school to attend, some of my other classmates came around with lists, and when they asked me which high school I'd be going to, I said Masters, because I did my research and I knew what would be coming. And the girl who was doing it laughed at me and said, "Why Masters?" And I said, "Well, why not?" She said, "Because it's Masters." So there's a very negative stigma about our high school, which is false, and it can only be broken by you and your kids.
Hi, my name's Jordan, and Masters is really awesome for allowing your kids to find their passion and then grow in it. And me, personally, grade 7, I found that I was in love with makeup, but not the pretty kind. So I'm a special effects makeup artist, which means I make people ugly. And so Masters, actually, I found a school called Vancouver Film School, and I got early exception in grade 10. And Masters allowed me to to grow my portfolio and gain skills that I need. So through English this year, I have a novel project, and I'm actually doing makeup as my project based on my novel that I read. And in some art classes as well, I was able to take projects and turn it into makeup to grow in my passion. And also, I'm also head of makeup for this year's school play, which is a super awesome opportunity. And I will be starting a makeup class also, so if your kids like makeup, they should come. It'll be sick. And Masters is super awesome for individualized help. I'm also a competitive dancer, so I will be missing up to 2 weeks at a time, depending on where I'm traveling to. And they're really good, like Ethan said, with one-on-one help and getting you, if you're off track or behind because you missed time, they will get you back up to where you are, or they'll schedule it with you so you're ahead before you leave.
Good
morning, everybody. So I'm going to be talking a bit about the music experience here. So because Masters is such a small school, we can offer an individualized music program. So whatever your kid wants to play, whatever instruments they play, whether it be piano, guitar, bassoon, whatever it be, there will be a way for your kid to get lessons and to therefore get music credits in the music program here. So personally, this program has developed my interest in music, and it's actually one of the reasons why I'm considering taking music after high school. So I started playing guitar in grade 8, and I just recently attended the Berklee summer program in Boston, and I was placed in the advanced blues class, and it's really only because I decided to take on guitar as one of my passions in grade 8. So the program also fit what I wanted to learn. So usually at other high schools like Western and Manning, because I've looked at these high schools, is their music program is pretty much jazz band, and that's pretty much it. Here at Masters, it's very individualized because the school is so small. You can pretty much do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be jazz. Your kid doesn't have to be pigeonholed into doing only classical. They can do whatever they want. We personally have a lot of bands that have started here between the kids of just rock and folk and different genres. It doesn't have to be pigeonholed. So I'm also the teaching assistant in the music program. So I mentor kids who are taking guitar because I know more than Miss Simpson, who's awesome. She's amazing. She's great. But in the place of guitar, I know a little bit more than her, so I take on some of her kids and I teach them in their classes, whether I have a spare there, and you can even get credits for some of that if you want to. But also there are other kids who are an expert in their personal instrument, whether it could be like bassoon or saxophone, and they go off and teach their kids. And there's also an electronic music program, which means making music on computers, but also recording, doing that type of stuff. We have a recording studio in our school, which is really awesome. Not many high schools can say that. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Ollie, and I actually came back to Masters for high school because of the smaller community. So I lived in Texas for 2 years, and I did the big high school thing, and it sucked. I hated it. There was no one-on-one help. Your teachers didn't know you. They didn't even know my name. You didn't know half of your classmates. There were set tutorial times, 2 hours a week, and you barely got help because there were so many kids. But at Masters, your teachers are willing to go that extra mile to help you out. They'll come early, they'll stay later. They might even answer your emails on weekends. Yeah. So at Masters, again, teachers are willing to go that extra mile because they care about you and you're close with them. And the community is so small, and you love everyone in your grade. Like, I love everyone in my grade because they're like a family. And yeah, just teachers are willing to help you out.
Hi, my name's Regan, and I'll be talking about the school trips here at Masters. So our school trips are very beneficial to our overall education because we get opportunities to see global issues rather than just like learning them in a classroom. So in grade 10, we learn about globalization, and Masters organizes cultural trips such as Spain to allow students like myself to experience societal frustration with government in another country. In grade 11 social, we learn about devastating world events like Nazi Germany and World War II. 5 years ago, several teachers took a small group of students to Poland and Germany, where they actually got to stand in a gas chamber. So this allowed students to better understand their curriculum rather than just learning it out of a textbook. Last year, students had an opportunity to also go to Japan, where they learned about Hiroshima and World War II in more depth. Masters also conducts missions trips, which allows students to give back to communities and connect with people in other countries, usually less fortunate. There we participate in activities such as building playgrounds for children and visiting with the people and the kids and the community we're supporting. The trips such as these allow us to understand how fortunate we are here in Canada, because you see like a whole different daily life when you're somewhere else. Finally, our Masters trips create strong bonds amongst our fellow students and teachers. So for myself personally, when I was in grade 10, I went on the Spain and Portugal trip, and I got to create wonderful friendships and memories that are still strong even when those students left for university.
Hi, my I'm going to preface this by saying that although I love the experience of having access to so many different areas of interest here, some of your kids will be looking for something so particularly specific that you might not find it here. However, that being said, I have been able to get involved in so many different areas here, and I'm not restricted to one or the other. So often at one of the bigger public high schools, you have to choose between one extracurricular activity or another. You can't just take both, and that's not the case here at Masters. So I've been involved in clubs such as robotics and sports such as soccer and smaller sports such as cross country as well, while doing well academically. Last year in the robotics season, we finished 3rd in the province, and 2 years ago when I was in grade 10, we actually won our senior high group in soccer. So our extracurricular teams are not as bad as you might think. We don't get to play against CBE schools in sports, and typically CBE schools, they do tend to have the better teams. However, here at Masters, the students can manage playing at a high-level club level, like Ethan mentioned earlier, while continuing to have their academic experience here. Just in grade 12, like I play club soccer, Ethan plays hockey, Liam and Jackson, they both play high-level volleyball as well. So Masters Athletics does offer the chance to have fun and potentially even win and have some success with a guaranteed spot on the team, and that's not something that a lot of other high schools will offer. Having such a pivotal role in the robotics team has really helped me narrow down what I want to do for university. It's helped me to realize within school the importance of having interests outside of school that will matter in the future. And as a result of this, I'm now aspiring to go to the Greater Toronto Area for mechatronics engineering next year. The experience of senior high here at Masters for me has been really positive, and it's really given me multiple aspects to look forward to every day, especially amidst those mandatory classes that I find less enjoyable. Like I'm sure all your kids, they've got that 1 or 2 classes that they really hate and it ruins their day. Well, at least here at Masters, there's so many different things to get involved in that you'll find something for sure that will balance that out. Teachers and staff actively support all students in all these areas, and that makes every day even more enjoyable. And I think their support has been a pivotal role to my academic success here, even across the subjects that I'm not particularly fond of. I don't think any other high school would have offered this same experience, and I honestly think Masters will do an exceptional job of preparing every student for the future, not just high school, but university and beyond, and it really shows in the environment here that they truly care about your success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our grade 12s. They speak honestly, which is what we love, right? You hear everything because we don't edit them, we just ask them to speak from the heart. I'd like to introduce you now to Nick Dasher. Nick is an alumni of Masters. He's in his 2nd year of university, but I'm going to let him tell his story a little bit as an alumni student.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nick Dasher, and I'm a 2nd year engineering student at the University of Calgary. I attended Masters for grade 11 and 12, and although I was only here for 2 years, I feel like, you know, it was absolutely an amazing experience here. So I really wanted to touch on just 2 points today, which were the community that Masters has and kind of the academic experience here and how it prepared me for university and going forward. First off, the community at Masters, our culture here is just, it's something you won't find anywhere else. Across Calgary, there's lots of big schools, Western, Manning, and the like, but here you know everybody, you know the teachers, and I know they touched on it, and Ms. McAllister touched on the one-on-one attention that every student has the opportunity to receive here, but it's absolutely amazing. I know a lot of the grade 12s and we played club sports. I swam on the national team while I was here, and the teachers, they understand it. They know you, they know what you can do, and it really helps. You know, they'll work with you, they'll work ahead with you. If you're going to be away, I know I was away for a month at one point in time, and every single one of my teachers, you know, were pushed ahead in their curriculum to give me that month of work so I could do it while I was away. That's not necessarily something teachers at larger schools will do. Some of your teachers, you know, to them you're just a face or a name on paper. You don't have a real connection. Here you have a real connection. You have an opportunity to learn with your teacher, to grow with your teacher, and to grow with your class. It's amazing. You know everybody. There's no niches here like there could possibly be at larger schools. It just feels a lot like a family. And one thing I wanted to touch on was, You know, I know Western is a big drawing point for lots of kids because they think they want to go into the IB program and it'll help them get into university and such, but when you're applying to schools, the IB program means nothing to those schools at all. It's just a grade on paper. You're applying with everybody else. It means nothing to them. So I know a lot of students want that challenge, or they think it'll be easier to get into university because they took harder classes, and I really don't think that's the case. Another thing a lot of kids and parents are worried about is because they're in such a small school, what's going to happen to their kid when they go to university and they have lecture sizes of 400 and 30,000 kids on campus. You know, they're not used to something that large. But I think here with such a nice community and all the extra classes you get to take, your kid's going to learn really well how to connect with people, how to make connections, how to keep connections, and how to communicate with everyone extremely well. I've had no problem at all shifting to university life. Although I do still live here at home and go to UC, you know, it's no problem at all. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. I've asked them to stay if they can, because I know you might have questions in a little bit, and they might be the right ones to answer them. So they are going to try to hang out if they can. We're going to transition now to have Tom Rednick come and address you. Mr. Rednick is the founder of Masters. He's our CEO. He's our visionary leader, and he's going to speak to a little bit of what we want to do to really help students be future ready. It could be a slogan, or it could be something we actually deliver on as a promise. So, Mr. Rednick.
Thank you so much. There's two things that students acquire at Masters. One is a very good academic preparation. And so academic aspects of our school is well established. We have 90+% of our students going on to university of their choice from our high school. And you know in earlier grades how well our students are doing academically. So we have a solid academic programming. But the second thing, which actually in my opinion trumps the academic excellence, is who is the student becoming? Who are they leaving? Who have they become when they leave? Because who you become is what you take into the rest of your life. And so we're going to talk about a specialty program that we've actually launched this year. And if you look at our graduate profile, it says that our graduates will be able to pursue their personal vision without limitation by achieving a high level of academic success and by becoming Imagine leaders. And I'm going to talk about this Imagine leader piece because that's the mystery piece that many of you may not understand. And it's kind of the highlight feature of this brochure. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to highlight exactly what that is all about. To do that, I need to go back in history. And as a matter of fact, there's a mistake on that slide. It says January 2013. It's actually January 2003. All right, so it's 10 years out of sync. Pardon me, but back in 2003 in January, my brother and I were at Vanderbilt University. We met with a fellow by the name of Matt Taylor, who at the time, and it still is, arguably the innovative creative design expert, one of the thought leaders in the world. And so we began to connect in that fall, in September 2003, not 13. We actually conducted a first design shop experience right here with our faculty at Masters. And that led us to actually create a physical environment, which by the N.G. Taylor Corp. They call the Nash Center, but it's a space designed to actually accommodate high-level innovation creativity processes. And so we were the first school in the world, first K-12 school to have a unique space to accommodate a particular process. And over the years, we've done numerous design sessions with University of Calgary, leaders coming here, we've a number of businesses, nonprofits, but most importantly, our faculty. Our abilities to think and design and create the future, we do that in a space that is designed for that. And so part of the launching of that space in 2004, we hired Jeff Graham, who's sitting over here. Jeff, just raise your hand. Jeff currently is our advancement director. And but back in 2004, he came on board to be part of the space and went through intense training with the N.G. Taylor Group. And in 2005, Klaus Schwab, who is the CEO of Davos, or of the World Economic Forum in Davos, He saw space. Matt Taylor showed our little space and said, oh, this is what this space could look like. And Klaus Schwab said, I want that here. And so 2005, they did a build out in Davos, Switzerland, and part of our staff, and Jeff went there as part of a design team to help facilitate the leaders of the world using exact same processes that we were using here to design solutions to complex problems. Well, over the years, that has now led us into designing a specialized program. Becoming an imaginal leader. What does that mean? Oh, by the way, look at that. There's somebody familiar up there. Where'd that come from? Anyway, that's great. First of all, you should understand that there is a field of studies in university called future studies. Okay, it's not necessarily common, but there are a number of universities around the world, and here's just a listing of some, that actually offer future studies program. This is a master's degree and often PhD level programming. It teaches people how they can become futurists. It's an actual profession, it's a field. Well, this is what we do in our school. Becoming Imaginal, we have a 789 program we've launched this year. The 789 is a capacity building program. I won't spend time on that. Many of your children are in that. But when we hit the grade high school, the grade 10, 11, 12, we are introducing or shifting from capacity building to who are they going to be when they leave, the imaginal leader. That's what we want them to be. And what does that actually mean? If you take a look at most of education, I'll say 100% of Alberta education is this. It's learning from the past. All the curriculum, all the textbooks contain knowledge that we already know. Nothing new. As a matter of fact, the textbook is out of date by the time they print it. All right? And so the concept of education is primarily focused on the past. Well, we have this notion, and it's something that is developed, as I said, in several universities. But the idea is it possible to see the future? And in a moment, I'll show you how we do that. But is it possible to actually go into the future? And if you go into the future, then can you actually learn from the future? And the answer is yes. You can actually do that. And so that's the nature of our Imaginal program in our high school, is that we begin to bring them to the place of being the seers and creators of the future. Can you imagine graduating our school? And everyone else has learned from the past, but our students will obviously have curriculum from the past, and Alberta curriculum, all that. But they also have built their capacity to see the future and to learn from it. And guess what? They get creative. They have responsibility. They have the skills and tools to do something extraordinary. And so when we go to our grade 10 program, the focus is on imaginal leaders. And we introduce them to the 5 keys of becoming imaginal, which I wrote in my book. We introduced the CALM program in the Imaginal Leader program. But it's really laying the foundation of what kind of person am I going to be if I'm going to be one of those people that will make a difference in the world. I'm going to sidetrack for a moment. It's a real interesting little sidetrack, but you'll see what the purpose of that sidetrack is for a moment. But going back in history, 4 years, in March of 2014, we had an interesting group come to Calgary from Brazil. All right, this was business leaders and some of the national educational leaders from Brazil. They came here in March of 2014. In May of 2014, we went to Brazil, and we began to connect with a family that owns one of the largest agribusinesses in all of Brazil. They're like the John Deere of Brazil, and they're a global entity. But they also run a school, and so we began to work and train their teachers. And so this is one of our showcase schools in Brazil that's becoming a school of profound learning. By the way, next month they're launching a brand new school they built because of the profound learning vision. But this Jacto Group, which is the family business, is a large international business. We approached George Nishimura, who's the chairperson of the group. We said to them that we would like to propose that we develop something for your company. And so we've gone through a series of 9 workshops with the intent to design a process by which they can activate the innovative spirit within their company. All right, so we've been developing systems and engines and technologies, and and the result of that has been this particular process. And the process has 7 steps, setting conditions, learning from the past, how to learn from the present, seeing the future, learning from the future, designing a strategic focus, and then creating the future. What that has enabled us to do, and most of you would know that we're a research development school. We're developing the future models of learning, and we've got efforts going there. This is the most unique R&D experience because the R&D took place in Brazil. And in Brazil, we designed a methodology by which how we can take people to the place of seeing the future and creating the future. Well, that methodology has resulted in our grade 11 course. And I believe it's a one-of-a-kind course in the world that will give our students such an advantage when they graduate that they have gone through this process. It's quite extraordinary. When we start to look at the future, for instance, there are these things that are called S-curve trends, and there are these things that we call weak signals in the past. But part of our teaching students of how to see the future is to look at current trends. And there's ways to do it. So you look at multiple trends. There's probably hundreds of trends that you can look at. And from those trends, you can begin to build scenarios of the future. And then there's a thing called weak signals. These are things that are not trends yet, but should they become trends, will profoundly change the world. These are things that will change the world in 20 or 30 years from now. Our students are looking at those and weak signals. And then we begin to take students into a place of seeing a number of different kinds of futures, possible, plausible, all of these different kinds of futures, preferred futures, preposterous futures. Our grade 9 core program is looking at designing life on Mars, and they're going to be using weak signals to design life on Mars. It's a preposterous future, but our grade 9 students are doing that as well. And so we're going to take our students through this design process of how to see the different kinds of futures in grade 11. It's a more comprehensive program. And so this is what the grade 11 program now looks like. It's been developed and it's being delivered through our Genius platform, and these various different steps that the students will go through and begin to learn how they can become the seers and learners and creators of the future. We have a whole competency bank of what they're acquiring skill-wise and self-assessment when it comes to all that. And then finally in grade 12, we conclude with them doing their impact project. The grade 12 culmination is them making a legacy, making a difference, and that's what this Imaginal Challenge will be for the grade 12s, that they leave making that dent before they leave the school. So the Imaginal Design Program is really enabling people to become, our students become seers, learners, and creators of the future. It's helping them not to be reactive, but to be proactive. The Imaginal Design is about transformation, and the biggest transformation that will take place will be in the lives of the kids themselves. They will leave having something that hardly anyone else would have by leaving high school. And so we highlight the Imaginal program here simply because it's the signature program of what we offer to our kids. They'll get all the rest of the academics. They go on to university just like everyone else, but this piece they will get nowhere else other than here. And so that's what we're trying to advocate and share with you. And we've got some exciting plans for our high school, but I'll leave that for another time. Here you go, Susan.
Thank you. I just think you've had a great glimpse into how we're trying to work on what happens tomorrow, what happens in a month, what happens the month they leave after high school, after graduation, but also what happens for them 10, 20, 30 years in the future. And it's about being future ready at that very, very quick minute level, and it's also about being future ready, big picture out. I want to introduce Brian Tahart. He's our college vice principal, so vice principal for grades 7 to 12. He's returning to us from a little distance, not very far away. He was here previously, but he is new in the college end for us, coming in as vice principal, and he's just going to share from his perspective a little bit about the overall student experience, and then we'll move into a time for questions.
I'm not going to use the microphone because I was gifted with a loud voice, and I think you can all hear me. When I speak in a microphone, I get really nervous. It scares me a bit, so are we good with this? Awesome. So yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about the experience. But first off, I want to share a little story about myself. About 4 years ago, I just had this realization. It was time to move on. My dad had always told me in life, it's about change. You know, you don't want to stay in the same place too long. You're going to get too comfortable and it's not good. So I followed my dad's wisdom, and my dad's a very successful businessman. I was like, all right, Dad, new opportunities. And there's lots of factors that went in. My kids were at the age of going to school and so on. So I switched schools. I stayed within Palliser schools, and I spent 3 years at a fabulous school. I need to use the microphone, I'm not loud enough. Okay. And so I got the opportunity of spending 3 years, amazing school, but I realized something really quickly. A special environment is a special environment. And that school had its own unique environment that I thought was incredible. But there was something unique, something intangible about the master's environment that I couldn't really necessarily put a word on it. I couldn't come up with something specific like, oh, it is this. And so on, the first couple of days being back here, you guys may know this, my office is down on the main hallway. And I was sitting in my office and I could hear a little bit of a commotion and something about Peter's Drive-In. And so I was like, oh, okay, let's go find out what's happening. And I turn around and these amazing young men and women are sitting in the lounge. They're just hanging out. One of them had gone out to buy lunch. And I peek around the corner and they're like, hey, Mr. Hart, we got fries, come have some. We know you can't have a burger because you're a celiac, but come have some fries. It was a mind-blowing moment for me, and for a lot of reasons. Here we have these grade 12 kids. It was their prep, their spare. They had every right to go off, do whatever. They were spending time together. They were doing homework. A few of them were watching Amazing Race, and they were having lunch together. And, sorry, I probably shouldn't have shared that part. You didn't hear that. But they were having this time together. What made it so unique was it wasn't like there was a few athletes hanging out together, or there was this amazing diversity of students, and they were all just hanging out. They were having fun, they were sharing about their summers, they were talking about schoolwork. There was one student helping another one with the new math work, and there was this just amazing experience. They loved each other. And I went to a larger high school, and I went at a time where going to a larger high school was so important. And I will say our generation, all of us in this room, went at a time where size when you applied really mattered. Did you come from the big school? Did you have that name behind where you're applying from? The world has changed so much. And it's amazing to see these intangible skills. I remember getting to university on my first day and feeling ready. I was not, because I had taught myself in high school to be with people just like me, because we have to form smaller groups. You have to kind of, adapt, adjust, and so on. But I was not necessarily prepared, having gone to a big high school. And there's a lot of amazing things that Masters has to offer that kind of tie into these. And I'm just going to touch on a few of them. But you heard a little bit about the job placement, the schooling that we can do as we're in the program. But there's other things. There's missions trips. There's going to build playgrounds, in Costa Rica, Dominican. I had the amazing opportunity of 10 years going to Belize. Those experiences impact you. And it was really cool. When I was applying for vice principal's jobs, I still put those experiences that I had done 10, 15, 20 years ago on my resume. And I got into those interviews and people went, hey, when you were in grade 10, it says you went to the Czech Republic. Tell me about that. I was a little flabbergasted. They didn't ask about marks. They were like, wow, I want to know, why did you do that at grade 10? And there's those intangible experiences that they want to know about. Beyond that, our robotics program. And I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to see our robotics arena out in the portables. And it's a cool program. It's amazing the stuff they're learning. But the community that those kids have, they have this bond, this camaraderie. And I was watching a grade 8 sitting down with a grade 11 student the other day and talking about some advice on how they're going to modify their bot so they can win. And there's those little experiences that you don't necessarily get in a larger environment. How often would you go to a larger high school and see, grade 12 sitting down with grade 10s? And it happens. There's amazing things that go on, but we don't even necessarily have to facilitate that. Our students want to do it. It is kind of just a part of the process. Beyond that, we have student council. And unlike most schools where they have elections and it's, becomes a bit of a popularity contest or so on, anybody's allowed. And we have students of all backgrounds, all passions. And it goes beyond just, okay, you're going to organize the dance. Although that's part of it. You're going to organize a spirit day. we have a group of students that are working on regenerative design in the school. And they're helping create a process that we can actually have sustainable food resources for our own school, our own in-shop. I have no clue what they do. It's beyond me, but it's amazing. And they're planning that through student council. And they're outsourcing commercials to some of the options. And then they have other students in younger grades who come in and do some of the work for them. And it's amazing to see kind of this organic way, sorry for the pun with regenerative design and growing, but they have this amazing organic way that it goes beyond just okay, I like growing plants, so I will grow plants. It's this bigger picture, and kids are coming in and kind of getting on side with that. Excuse me, sorry. But I just want to encourage you, and this is kind of the last thing I wanted you to kind of hear. When you go to other schools, and I encourage you, go to other schools, sit in their information nights. But I also want to encourage you, go visit these schools at 8:15 in the morning. Today we had you come in with the kids. And I want you to note the experience as you came in. I've had the lovely experience going to other high schools and seeing what it's like. You go in at 8:15 in the morning, it is not at all like this school. There are kids, smoking right outside the doors, and there's things. And I don't want to claim that we're perfect in any way, but we truly have an amazing environment. As you walked in, you probably saw kids catching up. You probably saw kids smiling. I mean, some weren't. I'm not in, some were like, it's at 8:15 in the morning, why did we start so early? But they were excited coming in the door. And I try to do this every day. I try to find some different students and ask, what are you excited for today? And I have not yet found a student who didn't at least pick out one thing. And then I usually ask them, okay, what sucks about today? And they always have something. I mean, that's teenagers, right? But there is this amazing joy, and I think there's an amazing change just in the overall environment of this place as well. From 3 years ago when I left, I get this interesting snapshot, and there is a phenomenal love within this. You got to hear a bit of it from these amazing high schoolers, but we could have pulled up any of our grade 12 students to speak to you, and they would have had a story. They would have had something amazing to share with you, and that's what kind of is the uniqueness of this. It goes beyond just getting them ready for courses. They will be ready academically leaving here. Your students will be pushed. In a normal high school, if you're not good enough for math, okay, take the -2 stream, or whatever it is, take the -3. That's fine. We don't accept that. If they need to, sure. But if we think there's their capability to do a -1 course, we're going to come alongside them. I'm getting waved at by a student there. They're going to come alongside them, and we're going to help them. We're not going to say, sorry, it's not working. We love your kids. And that's one of the cool things. I'm joining a team, and I'm a little overwhelmed at times at how amazing the teachers are here. They care so genuinely. And there are teachers that, I get here at 6:50, 7 o'clock every day, and there are teachers here well before me. And they just love serving your kids. So take the time. It's a tough decision choosing a high school. And there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I encourage you, go out. Feel the environment of those other places. And it's neat, we're having many students that are returning now. And we're seeing this influx of students coming back as they realize, they're like, oh, I guess the grass wasn't greener. When I said bigger is good? Not necessarily. No, there are programs at other schools, and if there's something, I encourage you, check those things out. But bigger does not mean necessarily good all the time. Being necessarily, but there's cool stuff, but there's something special. Wow. Where's my coffee? But there's something special about being part and being just, unique. And we have some unique students in our high school. And it's awesome to see their place, their acceptance, and so on. So just want to thank you for taking this time today. And I think we're going to move over to some questions now. But thank you so much. And I just want to say a blessing over you as you make this decision. It's tough. And I encourage you, have lots of discussions. Talk as much as you can. Ask us questions. And really take the time to go deeper than just the name. Thank you.
There are 8 questions we can answer for you, and things you think might be pertinent to the whole group.
What do you do to help the kids in grade 9 and 10 kind of decide what is their interest and what they're looking
really just a very scratching the surface. So if you take a look at how students make career decisions and university choice decisions, what the research will show you is 9th grade is just really on the cusp of being a little bit too young. So they do get a little taste, really it's through options, right? They explore, we try to encourage them to take lots of options, join clubs, get on teams, start something if it doesn't already exist, and kick tires with a few things, but it really starts in full steam in 10th grade. So 10th grade, we do our COM program, which is Career and Life Management. It's a required Alberta education course. In that, students explore who they are, what are their interests, what are the things they see themselves skilled at, and start to make those connections to how does this connect to a career. We do counsel our students through grade 11 and 12. We have a career counselor on site who will meet with you as many times as you want, meet with your students as many times as you want to get some individualized help as well. We bring in special speakers, we bring in the universities to address our students, so we don't do the, hey, here's a university in the hallway at lunch, we hope you wander by. We bring those universities into our programming in that course and through imaginal design time to actually speak to the students as a collective where they can get information. We do send them off to the university open house as well, but we want those reps to speak directly to the students, and the students can really just ask some good questions of them. You probably know this, most students change their minds after they go to university, it's pretty common. So we also know it's not a perfect decision-making process, but we do try to help them to steer into a general interest area because students don't typically change from a dramatically different area, but if I'm in something in the humanities, I might tweak where I'm at as a humanities type student. So we want to at least steer them in those general directions to get them going. There's a question at the back.
Just a question and clarification, because my hearing is not what it used to be.
That's
and
okay.
I remember hearing at the opening assembly that honor roll for junior high was 65%. So is that correct? And what is the Rutherford Scholarship? And is this the same for high school? And final question, I remember hearing a couple of years ago that if a student in junior high made the honor roll, they would get $500 or something off tuition in high school. Is that program still going on, and how does that all work?
Okay, all good questions. So let me start at junior high honor roll because I know that honor roll can be contentious. We do try to publish our criteria, probably before Christmas just so everybody sees it. But what I find is when I announce the cutoff coming in the spring, everybody goes, I don't remember what it was. So let me try to explain this very clearly. We did a survey with our students at the end of last school year. What they told us is they feel like we could actually ask more of them, which I thought was interesting. And I said, well, be careful what you wish for because now we are. So honor roll is 80%. 80% is on board with Rutherford Scholarship criteria. In junior high, the 5-course average is their 4 core and a blended mark of absolutely everything else they take. So we believe health class is important, coding is important, the Z is important. We want kids to be honorable in their academic work no matter what course they're in. The slight change this year is we're saying each of those marks needs to be above 65. We don't think that's a tough ask for kids. We actually believe we'll have as many, if not more, students on honor roll by communicating that higher quality criteria. In high school, it is 80%, again, on board with the Rutherford Scholarship, and we use their standard for calculating, which is 4 core, and your highest average next course. So it could be another core course, but it could also be an option course. So that's on board with how Rutherford calculates it. And of those first 4 core, always has to include English. And again, that's Rutherford follows that. It's also how universities in Canada determine entrance. The $500 you're speaking to comes from our Profound Learning Scholarship. That money is awarded at graduation, but it is for an 85% average and above. So they have to go even one more benchmark above to qualify for that money. What we had decided to do was to gift it to them upon graduation. That's when they really need that boost of money. It also means they can put on their resume another scholarship that they've earned, which is a boost for them. Did I miss anything?
So honor roll is not 65%.
Honor roll is not 65%. Honor roll is 80%. If you ask me, I feel like we could even push it a little higher, but incremental change. Other questions? Great, segue. So the question was, do we have plans for changing the location? So Mr. Redmond had just come and mentioned to me, if you're interested in seeing a sneak peek of our expansion plans for high school, I'm not sure if this means he's going to show them to you, I think it does. But what I'll tell you is we love this location. We love the centrality of this location. It is, you know, commuting, if I'm coming from south to downtown, we just find it works really well. Our preferred course of action right now is to stay on this campus, but to get some more space going for high school.
Thank you. You're going to see a sneak peek that first parent group to see this. We haven't officially launched what we're about to show you. So this is really top secret information that you're receiving today. So I think you've all passed the security clearance.
Still sign a non-disclosure.
All right. We believe that the high school that we're building is probably one of the best in the city and next to none. One of the challenges we do have is that we want to grow our school, but how do we grow it? And where do we put all those students if we were to grow the school? So we are now, we just finished our architectural renderings and design for a new high school wing. You know, if you would go to the bottom, here I'll use my pointer. You know, we're right here. See where my pointer is right in here? That's where we're at. And so this wing in here is going to be a second floor over top of and going into the atrium, and the main floor where you've got a number of elementary classrooms that we're upgrading as well. And so this is our plan. In terms of the high school wing, it's going to be designed to accommodate our signature program, our students becoming imaginal. It'd be a beautiful environment, not the boxy environment that you'll find in most schools. It'd be something that will resonate with our students being the imaginal leaders that we want them to be. And so we'll have a brand new space here that we want to put in place, and that's kind of the front facade of the high school wing that will sit over top of the existing floors. And so our intent is to stay here. We feel it is a premium location. You know, we've looked at other scenarios, but this for us is the best scenario that we can have. So our intention is to expand. Those that are children in grade 8 will probably have kids in this environment. And so we want to find ways to fast track the building, and you know, the imaginal you know, classrooms, the imaginal labs that we want to build into that new space will be quite extraordinary.
So just the timeline, so you don't, if our kids are in grade 9, they likely won't.
There's a possibility. I cannot commit because part of the timeline is contingent on our abilities to raise some funds. And so, you know, if people step forward and we're able to get to the critical side of where we need, it is possible that students in grade 9 will experience it before they leave, but I'm certainly not going to commit to it. But our goal is that that's the case. But that would be that we're successful in all the different steps that we need to go through for that to occur.
What's the enrollment of grade 10 right now, and what do you see the enrollment to increase with the expanded size?
Our current enrollment right now is we have 28 students in grade 10. That's actually a little on the full side, quite honestly, for us. We are open for next year for growing a little bit above the 30 mark and then splitting into 2 sections. The reason why we're okay with the 28 right now is because of the dynamic with those students. They work super well together. We have large enough classrooms to accommodate them. And that is only in certain courses where they're all together. After that, they branch out into smaller groupings regardless. So we're not super concerned about that. But if we cross the boundary next year, even at 30, we would create 2 sections. We will have a challenge for space when we do that, but we're open to fighting that challenge. We'll figure it out because we have some beautiful spaces, and we'll just get better at scheduling where students are at different times of the day. For future, we're really looking at 150. So 50 in grade 10, 50 in grade 11, 50 in grade 12. We don't intend to become that monstrous high school where you're not known. We love our high school. We love the climate we have. We love the success we're having. We have no intentions of changing that by suddenly growing to a size that doesn't honor that.
Thank you.
If there aren't a lot of questions that are kind of maybe pertinent to the group, what I'll do is I'll invite you to linger if you want to linger, have another coffee. We'll be around if you want to come and speak to us individually. If you need to slip out, obviously you're free to do so. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. If you want to come on a tour, we're doing Monday morning tours. If you want to let your friends know, or if you know other parents who weren't able to come this morning, we are going to send out information by email. We'll include you in that email, even if you've attended, because you might not have captured everything we've said. But certainly if you know people who are like, wow, I wish I could have come, or you feel like they should have heard what we've talked about, they can just email me and I will meet with them happily one-on-one, and or with you if you want to meet one-on-one to hear more detail or ask some more individual questions. But again, thank you so much for your time. We very, very much appreciate it.